Welcome back. My NetBeans crashed and it stopped the recording and everything, so I'm going to try and just pick up where I left off in this video. If you just want to watch this video because the other one got boring, that's fine. There's going to be more advanced stuff here, and I will try and go a little quicker so that I don't bore you. So I left off, I was going to set the hit points as pretty much the exact same thing as this, so I'm just going to copy it. Throw it here, and instead of zombie damage, I'm going to do zombie hit points. And then this will just 50-50 shot put a zombie on any given tile. It's not going to count for whether I've hit my max number of zombies or not. So what I'm going to do is check another condition and make sure number of zombies is less than or is greater than or equal to 0. Actually, I think I just want greater than. And then every time I add a zombie, I'm going to shrink the number of zombies that I still have left. Number of zombies minus minus does that for me. It reduces the number of that variable by 1. Also, one of the things I want to point out is this equals sign here. I'm going to refer to that as gets because it's the assignment operator in Java. It doesn't really mean zombie z equals new zombie. It's really that this variable is getting this value. Equals in Java looks like 2 equals, and I refer to that almost always as is. So if the number of zombies is 0, but I want to make sure I'm greater than. So just some terminology that I will consistently use because it's best. And then I'm going to copy this and do the same thing for item, except for switch things out with items. And I don't have item classes defined yet, so we need to go ahead and do that before I can really implement this. So I'll jump back to item. I've made item an interface. I have 2 types of items. I have weapon items and health kit items. Let's say both of them will have a name, so I'll make sure they both have a name. Both of them will have an integer that is, we'll call it hit points. I'm kind of forcing an interface here because I want to demonstrate an interface. And they'll both need the setters of these. I probably should put those together. And you notice in an interface, I don't need to tell you what this method is going to do. I just need to tell you what method or what methods need to be required on the item, on the classes that implement this interface. And maybe I'll separate these slightly. And that needs that. And so I'll just put those 2. Maybe those are the only 2 I have for now. And then you'll see I'll just implement, let's do the weapon first. I will implement serializable because I haven't done that yet, as well as item. And you'll notice now I have an error on my class because I'm not implementing those methods that the interface tells me I need to. So I will implement all of the methods, and I definitely don't want them to be throwing these unsupported operations. This should have probably been more of a item. Probably should be more of an abstract class, or even just a class with the 2 other classes extending them. I can show that in another video if there's enough requests for that. But we'll have the string name and int, we'll call it hit points. And so you can see to implement these, I'm just going to do what you'd expect in a normal getter and setter. And that would be how you implement an interface. I actually am realizing that I probably don't even need a weapon or health kit class separate. I'm going to do it still, but I'm going to turn this into a class so that I don't have to rewrite all this code. That's how you implement an interface if you need to do that. But since they're sharing so much in common, I'm going to make a common class and have the two classes extend them. Or I'll do that again for example purposes. So I will have a private string name, private int, hit points, and then I'll add the getters and setters, and I'll add a constructor, and I'll implement serializable, and that shouldn't have a class because it's a constructor. And so I'll leave this the way it is for now. Weapon, I don't know what additional fields it would have on top of what the item would have. And I'm not sure why this is complaining. We have to extend first. There we go. You have to extend a class before you implement an interface. I'll again just show you a constructor for a subclass. The super keyword calls the constructor of the class that I'm extending, so it'll call the constructor of the item class. If there was anything that needed to get set up in the item constructor, that would take care of it for me. I don't have to call it. And then I'm going to leave this empty for now. I'm going to jump back to health kit, do the same thing, extend item, and implement serializable, and create my default constructor. Maybe I will need to add stuff to this, but I don't need to now, so I'll come back to it. In item, maybe I'll have a method here. Is health kit, and then I'll say if this is an instance of health kit class, and return true, otherwise return false. And I keep saying otherwise, but it's really else. But I think otherwise, I don't know. I just say that because that's what I do. And then I'll do, a public boolean is weapon, and this will just return this instance of weapon. Like I said, my item class, I probably could have just had a boolean is weapon or is health kit, and that would have been fine. In fact, it's kind of ridiculous that I'm doing what I'm doing, but it's just as an example to show you how things could be done. So we'll go back to the map. We'll say we have an item. Well, again, let's do another 50-50 shot, whether this is a weapon or a health kit. So I'll copy my 50-50 shot code, and then I'll say I have an item I, it's null, which means it hasn't been assigned yet. If 50-50 shot, then I will get a new health kit. Otherwise, I will get a new weapon. And then since they both have the same attributes and nothing's different, I don't need to do any other code in my if-else. I can do set, oh, maybe I need to set a name differently, right? So if I'm a weapon, maybe I'll set the name to baseball bat. And if it's a health kit, I'll set the name to medicine. And again, I could randomize those. I'm not going to do that in my example because I've already done enough randomizing. And then I'll set a common hit points to, let's go item, and let's make a public static final int max hit points, and maybe that'll be 10. So we'll jump back over to map, and we'll set the hit points to item dot and I can't tell you why that's not being available for me. It's public and it's static, and so it should be there. Did I do something different here? No. Oh, this is not the item class. That was an instance of item, which didn't exist. There we go. Okay, and you'll run into that a lot, and that's why an IDE is so useful, because even when it doesn't tell you exactly what's going on with your code, it'll at least help you know what exact part is wrong. So now I need to make sure I subtract my num items so I don't add too many. And I have, oh, and I also have to make sure that my location gets the new things that I've created. And I don't care if there's an item and a zombie on the same location. So now I have a location. After all of this code, I'm going to add it to my map. Oh, of course, I need my matrix to exist. So to make sure I initialize my matrix, because I have this object up here that's a location array, or a location matrix, array of arrays, it's never been initialized, so I need to make sure I initialize that. I'm going to do that actually in the empty constructor. Whenever a map is created, I just want to make sure that a matrix is there. So I'm going to say the matrix gets a new location array. And I needed to, in an array, I need to say how big it's going to be. Unfortunately, my sizing is down here. So I am actually going to turn these. I don't know why Control-D doesn't do what I think it's going to do every time I try and do it. I'm used to another IDE. I'm going to make these, I'm going to turn them into, let's make them public and static, and let's initialize them here. And then I can say, oh, because I'm doing that, I should probably rename them to follow conventions. And then I don't need the the getters or setters anymore. And so you're going to go through the same process as you build out your classes, changing how things are constructed. That's part of the development process. If you need any help with it at all, let me know. Somehow I got zoomed in. It's all right. And then I'll need to make this, like I said, I need to size this And now anytime I create an instance of a map, I am guaranteed to have a matrix, which has all the well, it has a bunch of null locations, but at least the matrix exists. If I need to make sure that I'm initialized, I'd put an initialize call in here. You can choose to do that or not. That's up to you. I'm going to leave it out for now. I may come back to add it later. So now that I have a location, I have an instance of a matrix. I can add the location to my matrix cell. So I'll say matrix at row column is going to get my location L, which I've declared up here. I will pause to figure out how to zoom out so you can see more code.